Hey guys, it's Casey. So today I'm going to touch on one of the hottest subjects that's being spoken about because I want to settle a lot of people's fears and bring up a subject that I feel like is actually even more of an issue than the one we're talking about now. So, hot topic is measles. And there's a lot of fear going on, and there's a lot of misinformation happening, and a lot of angry people being mean to others. And it's just kind of makes me hate being on Facebook right now. But I really want to clear the air so that some of your fears and concerns and validations can be met. Okay? So let's first discuss what measles is. Measles is a childhood illness that used to be super common about 60, 70 years ago. It has symptoms like fever, fatigue, runny nose, skin rash, headaches, swollen lymph nodes, sore throat, and a mild cough. So it doesn't sound pleasant, but it is an illness that is truly not much more scary than just getting a bad cold or the flu. But of course, these vaccine companies and the government and doctors and everybody else is going to want to scare the heck out of you into thinking, oh my gosh, I have to try to protect my poor child from this terrible disease that is so preventable with one little vaccine. But there isn't just one vaccine. We all know a vaccine comes with multiple boosters because, of course, the initial one didn't actually offer really any protection, and then you have to keep giving them more, really because they just need more money and they want to keep you in a fear place. But that's the reality of it. But let's talk about what the actual measles, mumps, rubella vaccine contains and the side effects that are even listed on the CDC website. So this is not some anti-vax website that I went to. This was actually on the CDC, their list of common side effects and then more serious side effects, which of course are in mild cases, in few cases. Sore arm, fever, mild rash, pain and stiffness, seizures, low platelet count, swelling in the cheeks and neck, allergic reactions, encephalitis, measles, mumps, or rubella, autism. It is linked later in life to various cancers, and death. Those are some of the side effects that you can have from giving your child the vaccination. By not giving your child the vaccination, you have the possibility of measles, mumps, or rubella, all with similar symptoms as what measles has. And does that put your child at risk by not vaccinating them? Sure. Does it put your child at risk by vaccinating them? 100%. Because not only is their immune system going to have to try to work and fight off of all the toxic crap that's in this vaccine, but it actually devotes part of your immune system to that vaccine to go, we really need to deal with this. And your body does not just recover, it actually impairs your immune system permanently when you get a vaccination. They won't tell you that. And furthermore, you take that and you go, okay, what if I had a kid like my own that I decided to breastfeed up until a year and then follow it with fully organic food and build them an immune system from the ground up with their perfect little cells that God already put in their body when they were born? What happens then? Well, now my kid has such a strong armored immune system that when a stupid childhood illness comes along, their body is too strong to even get it. Or let's say they weren't and they contracted the measles. What's going to happen? Well, they're going to have some symptoms. They're going to not be running around and having fun for a couple of days, but their body is going to naturally fight a disease because it has an immune system that's strong and it's going to work on fighting it. And then what happens to that immune system after it's overcome the disease? Guess what? It actually permanently protects you then from that strain ever happening again. All that, what they want you to believe a vaccine is going to do for you is actually what will happen if your child gets the disease and overcomes it. People aren't dying from measles, you guys. Your kid is not going to die if they get measles. You're not going to die if you get measles. And the thing that I find so hilarious is that all of these super pro-vaccine people are super scared of people like me and my kids. And it's like, why are you worried? You're vaccinated. Aren't you protected? Isn't that the point? If it's not the point and you're not protected, what the heck was the point of your vaccine? Didn't offer you any protection? Oh, and you got sick afterwards? Oh, and your kid had a rash and a fever and was super sick and you were scared and they started getting like all these weird symptoms? And then you can't sleep at night because you know that what they just put in their body is super dangerous and it scares you, and it should, because it's absolutely toxic and horrible. And I am so thankful that I had the ability to do some research for myself and learn this 10 years ago. Actually, it was 12 years ago. And not allow my kids to be victims of the stinking government like I was. Because guess what? I got all the vaccinations back in the 80s. I also, at age 21, wound up with a super rare stage 3 Hodgkin's lymphoma that was only in 1% of women. The only link that they even have to that is vaccines and diet. So I'll take the risk of maybe my kid getting measles and then their body overcoming it versus the possibility of all the other crap happening. But here's the kicker, you guys. This is my favorite part. They don't tell you this, and they never will. There are 24 strains of measles. Do you know how many strains of measles the MMR protects your kid against? One. 1 out of 24. So let's really hope that there hasn't been any mutations happening over the last 100 years that maybe made the measles twist so that you're not protected at all against that. You guys have to realize there's so much fear and money behind vaccinations and literally no help. Zero. I give vaccinations this much credit for eradicating disease. If you actually do your homework, you'll find out that most disease was eradicated by people getting educated on how to properly care for themselves and stay clean and eat the right foods and strengthen their immune system. So I don't want you buying into their tactics of fear and lies. Educate yourself, do some serious searching, and determine what's right for you and your family. But don't go ranting online when you are not educated on this stuff. A lot of people are just ranting, and it's infuriating to me. I can't even engage in it because it is so unbelievably stupid. So now I want to talk about the way greater danger than these measles that everybody's afraid of, because this danger lives in your house and is in your kids' bodies every single day, guaranteed. And guess what? It causes all kinds of disease that will kill your child and paralyze them and cause all kinds of terrible side effects. And that product is sugar. So sugar, it has a million problems, but number one, it's super addicting. And when something is addicting, it's hard to overcome. They actually equate sugar addiction to the way that your body will be addicted to heroin if you were to consume it. It lights up all of these things in your brain. When they look at it underneath, an image, it's absolutely frightening the way that your brain shifts when sugar enters the picture. And a long study was done first on children, and then they did it on adults to see what the difference was. And the sad thing was the study was even scarier in kids than it is in adults, but for a logical reason. A child is developing. Their body is in this, growth stage. And so the food and the nutrients that they receive are either going to be building them up to a stronger, healthier human or breaking them down and causing them to be slow along the way. And what this study showed was that 15 to 25% impairment of cognition in children that had consumed sugar. So think about how much that affects their learning and their growth. 15 to 25%. And then when they did it in adults, it was more around the 15% average for how it impaired their mind. But just think about that, you guys. It's a substance. It impairs your brain. It has the ability to completely shift the way that you think about things. So it's powerful. And I don't want to be under the influence of anything that is already proven to be negative and cause countless diseases, but I care enough to think for myself, and I don't want any substance making me think otherwise because I'm under its spell. So I want to actually go through some of these things. So number one, the average person daily consumes 17 teaspoons of sugar. Don't believe me? Start checking your labels and write down everything that you eat and the total grams. The way that you figure out how many teaspoons it is you divide the total grams that you consume in a day by 9, and that will give you the amount of teaspoons you have of sugar. So that equates to 150 to 170 pounds of sugar consumed in 1 year. That's disgusting and so unhealthy. So let's talk about the actual health side effects. So number 1, it causes a glucose spike and then a huge plummet after your body gets through with it. And that leads us to diabetes, one of the leading diseases in the country. Furthermore, when we have these high rises and drops, we get like surges of energy and then like a total crash. It is the worst way to get energy. It's the dirtiest energy. Don't use it like that. Second, it's proven to cause inflammation. This was really interesting. Obviously, I knew it caused inflammation, but they actually said that depending upon the amount you have and the source of the added sugar that you're consuming, it has the potential to stay in your body and keep that inflammation marker high for a minimum, this is not a maximum, a minimum of 2 hours. So think about if you had more, like so your body is in this really high elevated inflammation state. Why is that bad? Well, inflammation leads to virtually every disease on the planet, but it's especially linked to heart disease and diabetes and obesity and all these cancers. I mean, it's just prevalent. And so we don't want to have high inflammation. So we have to reduce sugar for that alone. Third, it destroys your gut microbiome. So the balance of good flora in your gut gets completely upset by sugar. And if you continually consume it, you'll have more bad bugs than good bugs. And did you know that you can actually, the average person that consumes sugar has upwards of 6 to 10 pounds of excess crud from all of the bad bugs in their intestines, their colon, and their stomach. So think about, you could literally drop 6 to 10 pounds from detoxing off of this crap. And you're going to feel way better. And you're going to think way better. It also leads to a chromium deficiency. This is not one that many people talk about, but it's absolutely proven. So most people are like, well, what's chromium deficiency do? How would I even know what that's going to do? Well, let me tell you the symptoms of a chromium deficiency. So depression, a decreased metabolism, an increase in your triglycerides, your bad cholesterol, and it also inhibits your body's protein production. So there's a huge tie between our brain and our gut. And so people say hey, you got that gut feeling that you shouldn't do this or you really need to do this. That's because our brain is very linked with what's happening in our gut. So what happens when that gut gets totally out of balance? Our brain gets out of balance and it starts causing massive anxiety and depression. It's terrible. And we don't realize that sugar is what's causing our depression. And so then we go and eat more sugar because we're like, but it makes me feel so good in that moment. But it's not worth it because long term, it's destroying you day by day, cell by cell. It accelerates your aging. It goes along with the destroying. So everything from your skin to your hair to your nails to your teeth, everything ages exponentially faster when you consume sugar. The last one I want to hit on is that it lowers your body's absorption of vitamins and minerals. And that's again because that gut flora is imbalanced. So it's not receiving. So you might eat something that's like a superfood and then your body gets it and only gets maybe 70% of it because your gut is so out of balance that it's not receiving nutrients the way that it's supposed to. So I highly, highly, highly recommend, and I can't recommend this enough, get yourself a sugar detox. Do a full-on sugar detox. Well, how do you do that? You start by going to your cupboard and looking through the labels of everything that you have. If it has added sugar, throw it away. If you can't throw it away, I guess give it away. But then you're just feeding somebody else's poor choices. When you shop again next time, don't buy something with added sugar. But check the source. So just because on the can or on the package, it might say sugars and then have a value, doesn't always mean that it's added sugar. So make sure that you check that. I had somebody that bought, I think it was a Larabar, and those have 3 ingredients, dates and cashews and something else. And they're like, oh my gosh, there's so much sugar. And I said, well, look at the ingredients. The sugar is from the dates. It wasn't that they put sugar into the bar. So there's a big difference between an added sugar and a naturally occurring sugar that came straight from the fruit that the sugars are from. Very different. Now, you can overdo natural sugar, absolutely. And so you do need to be careful to not go crazy and be like, well, it's a natural sugar, so I can just have as much as I want, right? No, because it's still a carbohydrate. And carbohydrates in excess cause obesity, period. It's proven. So just look at your labels, stop consuming added sugar, and up your water intake because you're going to be detoxing. And let me tell you guys, it's like, I don't want to scare you, but it should scare you, the fact that when you detox off of sugar, you can get withdrawal symptoms straight up like a drug addict. Like, you can get shakes, you can get total night sweats, you can get, the worst headache of your life. I think when I sugar detoxed about a year and a half ago, I had a 3-day headache, like 3 days. And I'm just going, are you kidding me? And it made me more angry every day. And the last freaking thing I was going to do was going to be to give into that stinking craving and be like, well, let me just have a little sugar. Because I knew the minute I took that, whatever it was that was sweet, it would make the headache go away. But that shows how strong that addiction can be, you guys. So you really have to just get rid of it. Now, once you've completely ridden your body of sugar, it takes 7 to 10 days. So depending on how much of a consumer you are, we'll see how long you have to go. But 7 to 10 days, after that point, does that mean like, oh, just go back to eating how you were? No. Consciously eat and see how much different your senses are when you do consume sugar. Because I can tell you, like, somebody could straight up say, oh, I made this dessert or I made this whatever. It could be like a cracker. If you give me something that contains sugar, I can tell you literally within less than a minute. Because I eat it and almost instantly, it's like my brain goes, zzz. It's so weird. Like, it's absolutely frightening to me. I never recognized this before, because when you're a sugar addict, you get no effect on that. You might feel a little bit like, oh, I just feel a little bit more energetic, but you definitely don't have that surge like you have once you've completely detoxed off of it. And for me, being a cancer survivor and knowing that sugar directly feeds cancer cells, that's the one thing I don't want to ever have as a part of my life again. It will never be a normal part of my life to have sugar in my house. It just won't be, because I've walked that road. And let me tell you, when you've gone through 6 months of chemotherapy and lost your hair and you lost your ability to care about anything because you're puking and sick and you can barely even make it to the bathroom because you're so fatigued, things change and you really wake up. And I don't want any of you to have to walk that road. I would love for you to wake up prior to having a cancer, prior to being diagnosed with diabetes or heart disease, or looking at yourself and going, oh my gosh, I'm 30 and I'm 100 pounds overweight. Change today. You're in control. You have the ability to do it. And there are tools everywhere. There are just billions of tools to help you get better and to help you overcome this. So stop making excuses. You don't have one. There's no valid excuse for why you should continue eating sugar or giving it to your kids. There are so many wonderful alternatives. You can still make cake. You can still make cookies. You can still have a life, but you find alternatives. Personally, monk fruit and erythritol are my favorite baking substitutes. I hate the taste of stevia. I think it's disgusting. That's my personal. I know people that love stevia. Maybe you're going to be one of them, but you just don't want artificial sweeteners and you don't want real sugar. You'd want none of the above. So get something that is a plant-based sweetener. So there's multiple different ones. And don't be tricked. Agave is one of those ones that a lot of people just jump on board because they're like, well, it sounds like it's better and it's lower glycemic than sugar, so shouldn't I do that? So then they get agave and then they go crazy with agave. Problem is, like, pound for pound, agave actually has like more condensed sweetener than sugar. And so you can actually get yourself in a worse place using agave than you can with sugar sometimes. So I don't recommend agave at all. Do not have that be part of your life. Same thing with coconut sugar. People think like, oh, coconut sugar, it must be like from the coconut tree. And so it's got to be like healthier than sugar. It's the same value, gram for gram, that sugar is. It's not going to affect your body any different. So just don't consume those. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. And as always, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel. I love making these videos and I want to keep you guys informed and educated. So thanks. Bye-bye.